Welcome back to another episode of We Don't Know What to Watch, the podcast where two guys watch random movies and talk about them. With me, as always, is the unstoppable, the unbelievable, and the very huggable, the Suzanne Collins to my Veronica Roth, Kyle Mulford. And I'm Noah Saturn. How you doing, Kyle?
We need to hug to stay warm in this dystopian future.
Yes, and also learn our SAT words, because I'm divergent and you're allegiant and dauntless and then the farm people.
I'm doing good, and today's episode is brought to you by clocks, because you know what time it is. It's time to listen to our podcast.
Exactly. At least it's not dead time.
Go back and listen to that gem.
Oh, man.
I made puns that almost made Noah quit the podcast.
That's true. That was almost our final episode.
Look how far we've come.
That's true. Okay, so what did we actually watch, Kyle?
We watched the sequel to The Hunger Games, The Hunger Games: Catching Fire.
Yes.
From 2000 and something.
I think 16? It was 14.
14?
Yeah, 2014.
Terrible for me not to know. What kind of research did I do on this podcast?
I don't know, man. So yes, this is based on the trilogy by Suzanne Collins, and these movies were just like sort of the first big series based off of a YA book, or at least based off of a book aimed at a younger audience, because Harry Potter ended in 2011. So all of a sudden, there's this kind of gap, because, you know, the Harry Potter movie would come out every 2 years for a decade. So
yeah, and then this one started back up, and then after this one, which actually did pretty well, I believe, then we got like Divergent. And was Twilight after this?
Twilight actually started in like 2008.
Okay, so they were around, but like this one started the trend of like the dystopian future stuff, because we had Hunger Games and Divergent and Maze Runner, and there might have been another one, but those were the big three ones.
Yeah, and then I don't know if Maze Runner ever actually got to the finish line, because I know they tried to do the divide the final book in 2 parts for Divergent, and then like they made the first part, but it bombed, so they just never finished the second part.
Yeah. Maze Runner, I don't remember I think Maze Runner might have eventually finished it, like, because I kind of liked the Maze Runner movies. I did not like Divergent because I thought the premise was stupid. I couldn't get past the stupidity of the premise of Divergent.
I never watched it, so I have nothing to say about it.
Well, what's your snowball pitch of this movie? Catching Fire.
A Hunger Games All-Stars Rumble in the Jungle, as was put by Honest Trailers. So I think that
nice. So recap actually of the first movie is there's 12 districts that are run by one main district or whatever, and they pick two, a boy and a girl between the ages of 13 and 19 or something like that.
Something like that.
2 teenagers, a boy and a girl from each district, to go, and this is to keep the districts from uprising. They do this and make them go fight to the death and have one victor, and then that victor gets to go live in the main city in a life of luxury. And in the first one, you see Katniss Everdeen and Peeta Bread. No, I don't remember his last name.
Peeta Malark.
Malark. You see Katniss and Peeta win by declaring their love for each other, even though they're not really in love, but they won together. And it's like the first time 2 people have won the Hunger Games. And so this picks up a couple months later.
Yep, this is about them beating. So the first one, they beat the system by manipulating the media, because, you know, they had these poison berries. So they say, okay, like, I love you. They want to go out like Romeo and Juliet, stopped at the last moment. So they both won. And, you know, because if there's one thing that likes, it's when a dictator loves when someone goes against their plans and is defying them and showing that other people could possibly defy them too. Dictators love that, historically, from what I understand.
Yeah, yep. I think that usually goes pretty well, and they applaud you for that.
Yep, and they love you for that.
the you find out in the beginning of this movie, the issue is that, Katniss and Everdeen don't actually love each other. Well, he loves her, but she doesn't reciprocate. And I think it's indicated that she actually has feelings for the non-Thor Hemsworth in town. What's his character's name?
Gale Hawthorne.
Yes, Gale, played by Liam Hemsworth. I think she's got more feelings for him, but when you win the games, you have to live as a mentor to the next upcoming people from your district, or competitor. I don't want to call them competitors. People who are chosen.
The next tributes.
And so you have to become the mentor. And so since they bucked the system by saying they were in love, President Snow is like, well, you better make me believe you're in love. So Mitch, just Mitch. I am really screwing up these names because they're such weird names.
Yeah, they do pick weird names. So basically, first third of the film is they have to go on this essential victory tour. They go from district to district to say, hey, this is great. The capital is great. Authoritarianism, fascism is pretty cool, kids. But then they actually, then the different districts, of course, start revolting because to them, Katniss is a symbol of hope and rebellion, yada, yada, yada. So then, President Snow and then his new games master called Plutarch Heavensby, spell that one.
Right.
Played by the late Philip Seymour Hoffman. I forgot he was in this movie.
Right.
So we got our good Philip Seymour Hoffman here. He's the new games master. Says, here, I got a great idea. What if we have all the previous competitors become the ones who have to compete in this year's Hunger Games? Because it's the 75th one. It's the Quarter Quell, so that means it's extra special. And of course, because Katniss, there's only 3 winners that ever came from District 12, including Katniss, Peeta, and Haymitch. So then we know Katniss has to go in, so she's probably going to die. And then, but also none of the other victors from all the other districts of the past, none of them really want to do it. So that's where things get interesting. So then the second third of the movie, it's all about trying to form alliances to see how, okay, we got to survive this somehow, because we all know President Snow wants to kill us to keep further rebellion from coming on.
Yeah, so then you get kind of like an introduction to each of the winners from the previous years, and the ones, the tributes who got retributed again this year, and they've all got their own little personalities. And one's like an older woman who won one of like the early Hunger Games, and so like, oh gosh, she's not going to make it, and all this stuff. So, but there's some weird, interesting characters in there.
Yep, we got fan favorite character Finnick, has good abs, and then also has a trident. So I'm gonna call him Abs.
Abs.
And then we also have Jeffrey Wright and another lady who are like the nerdy science people. He won his Hunger Games by rigging up something to electrocute 6 people at the same time.
It was Jeffrey Wright and Amanda Plummer.
Right.
Were the actors.
Right. Or wrong.
Right.
And then, of course, you have Sir What's-His-Face and not appearing in this film. Other characters we don't really care about because they're just there to actually get killed by our main group of heroes. But we do have Joanna from District 7. She has an axe.
Very nice.
Mm-hmm.
And then we also still have the announcer played by the Tooch.
He is my favorite part of these films because he knows what kind of movie he's in. He's having the time of his life.
I really like him, but I also think that what's his face? Lenny Kravitz does an excellent job is his name Cinna, I think.
Yeah, he barely have any lines, but he does feel pretty genuine. So Lenny Kravitz does well.
Yeah.
So yeah, I honestly wish this film was just Stanley Tucci because he was the best part. I want to see his whole what does he do when he's not on stage? Because we really only see him on stage. Does he have a writer's room? I just want to see if he has running this late night style talk show.
Right. He's just so like in your face, and like he's got the big hair and like the bright shining teeth, and and interviewing all of the tributes and trying to get the fans riled up and all this stuff. And Cinna is the one who designs the dresses for Katniss, and he kind of helps Katniss. This is one thing I really liked this character, because like you said, he seems genuine, and like he really has a love for Katniss, like as in like she's a great person. I really want to help her. And he makes addresses, and then he does one, since they're doing the whole I'm fake in love. They propose to each other, Katniss and Peeta, in front of President Snow to show him, hey, look, we're in love for reals, and get but Cinna designs a wedding dress that she takes out on stage. And his designs that you'll find from the first movie are she spins around and flames come out of it. And this one, the flames ate up the dress, and then it turned into like wings in the back, and she was a mockingjay, which was the symbol of hope for everybody. And then because they're going into the games, they're trying to get it stopped because none of the tributes want to go. Like you said, they're all like, we've all done this before. Why should we go back? This is the President Snow trying to diminish the uprising again, because they're like, oh, you think you're going to uprise? Well, now we're going to take the people who did have a life of luxury and put them back in the arena. Well, to try and stop him, Peeta lies about her being pregnant, and that gets people all excited and rooting for them. So,
Yep, and then we get to part 3, the actual games, and then we get to sort of the mechanics of how the arena works, because every arena is different. And this one, it's kind of more of a jungly area versus last time it'd be more of like an Atlantic or kind of like North American style forest.
Oh, we need to mention also, though, when they did the tributes and they drew the names, Katniss was going to get drawn no matter what. So that was actually kind of sad, because the person who draws the names, Effie, she actually starts genuinely caring about Katniss and Peeta herself, and you see the pain on her face when she goes to draw Katniss's name, as like, it's the only name in the bowl. I have to draw your name. But then she draws Haymitch's name, and Peeta says that he's going to go in for him. So then there's this whole deal that Katniss tries to make with Haymitch, and says you have to keep Peeta alive, because Peeta is actually a very, like, even though she doesn't love him, he is a really genuinely good person in this series, and she recognizes that and wants him to live. So she tries to make a deal with Haymitch to go do whatever you can, because they can send in supplies and or whatever, but do whatever you can to keep him alive. Make sure he stays alive.
Yep. So, and then, they each get their little things of gold. So Haymitch gets a gold bangle because Katniss already has her gold pin. And then Peeta gets like a gold necklace or something.
Yeah, because Effie was like, go show them that we're a team, and like everybody's going to have a piece of gold. It was, and hers was, she's the one who came up with that. You don't like Effie at first in the first movie, because you're like, well, you're the one drawing the names and you're all excited about these Hunger Games, and then she grows a bond with Katniss and Peeta, and then develops like actual real sympathy for them. So you kind of like start liking Effie a little more in this film.
Yep. So now we get into our friend back in the arena. And what makes this arena different, Kyle?
It's divided into sections. There's this water in the middle, and then there's a bunch of rock walls leading into the middle, where there's the conch shell with all of their supplies, and then leading out, there's a beach around the whole thing, and that goes into forest. And when they go out there, there's one night where some poison fog comes out and is chasing them around. And all of a sudden they get to another section of the forest, and it's almost like the fog hit a wall. And then they realize that, okay, well, we can wash this. The poison washes off with water in the stream. So, but then they're in this new section of the forest, and they're attacked by these monkey things.
Yep.
And they're running around, and they get to the beach, and I think the monkeys stop at the beach. So it's like it's almost like there's these invisible walls that certain things can't go past.
Well, it's because the monkeys don't like sand. It's
Oh,
coarse
maybe
and gets everywhere.
it's coarse.
Yes. Okay. Anyway, had to throw that in there. So then they start to figure out, wait a minute, it's divided into sections because it's supposed to be like a giant clock. So
Well,
each section has a
first you get
different
Amanda
threat.
Plummer coming out. She's one of the smart ones, but she doesn't talk much. So she just comes out. She keeps saying tick tock, tick tock, tick tock, and everybody's like, "Shut up!" But then Katniss eventually figures out, "Oh, this is a giant clock, isn't it?"
Well, I know she was just talking about how the future of social media is on TikTok. She was predicting TikTok.
Well, yeah, because they're recording all the Hunger Games, so like they got to feed it out to little 3-minute bursts to TikTok.
You're right. She predicted it. Amanda Plummer predicted TikTok.
The end. That's what this was all
Yep.
about.
It was all about TikTok. The end.
Yeah, so we discover this is a giant clock, and when the clock strikes 12, there's lightning,
Yep. Lightning into a tree.
and so you've got the smart people. Jeffrey Wright, like this genius, was like, "I've got a plan to run. I've created this wire conductor that I'm going to run from that tree to the water and get all of our opponents into the water." Because yeah, they formed those alliances at the beginning, and so there's several of them that are actually working together, but then there's others that are hunting them. So they try and do this whole scheme, and he ends up getting hurt in the process, and then so does Katniss, but she shoots an arrow into the dome, which I don't think we mentioned. There's like this giant dome that's covering the whole place. That's kind of like a screen dome.
Yeah,
And she
it like
shoots.
uses like makes it look like it's just an open sky, but it's really just a dome.
Yeah, and so she uses an arrow because their plan didn't work. So she hooks the conductor wire to the arrow and shoots it up into the dome right when the electricity hits the tree that the wire is wrapped around, and boom, blows up the dome ceiling. But she gets knocked out in the process, and then she wakes up and surprise, Plutarch, the new game designer who President Snow thought was helping him destroy Katniss, was actually part of the resistance. Bum.
Yep. So they're all join the resistance and go to District 13, except Peeta and Joanna are caught. So we'll have to save them the next time because they find out that Doc is still alive in the year 1885.
And is sent a letter not to be opened till 1985.
Yep. Western Union. Anyway, so I just want to talk about the dome for a bit. So there's lightning and there's thunder. So would you call it some sort of?
And there's and all of a sudden Tina Turner starts singing.
Yep. So you say, would you call it some sort of thunderdome?
I would, but
Okay.
we don't need another hero. Oh wait, we do need another hero.
Well, listen, can't we all just move beyond Thunderdome for once?
I think we will in the next movie.
There we go. Okay. That's all I had to bring up. So we should talk about Chekhov's arrow, because there's arrows all over the film. Chekhov's gold bangle and Chekhov's necklace, because at one point we see Haymitch gave away his gold bangle, because later when we're actually in the dome, we see Finnick wearing it. So that way we know Finnick is one of the good guys now. And then later we see Katniss opens Peeta's, necklace. And then you see inside is actually pictures of her mom, Prim, and then Gale.
Oh, which is one thing we never mentioned is that one thing that they had over Katniss and Peeta is, or well, mostly Katniss, is President Snow saying, "You got to show that you love Peeta and stop encouraging this uprising. Otherwise, I'm not going after you. I'm going after your family." So
yeah, I'm going to kill your family, I guess, if you don't do what I say.
he's a very nice president, played
He's
by
a very
Donald
nice
Sutherland.
Donald Sutherland, who kind of looks like my grandpa in these movies.
We haven't mentioned, in case you haven't seen this movie and know anything about it, Jennifer Lawrence is Katniss.
Yeah, this was her big breakout film. At least the first one was, and then unfortunately she had to continue it. But she's fine. She's got at least one Oscar. She's good.
Yeah. And then it was this one. The first one was directed by someone else, but then this one and the two follow-ups, because it's Mockingjay, was split into two movies. And now there's another one actually coming out that's kind of a prequel. That there was another book that's a prequel, and they're creating another movie. That one also, including this one and the Mockingjay movies, were all directed or going to be directed by Francis Lawrence. No relation to Jennifer Lawrence. However,
That was my question.
they've worked together 4 times because he directed her in this, and then Mockingjay Part 1 and Mockingjay Part 2, and then there was some movie where she was like a spy or something. Red Sparrow. I think he directed that with Jennifer Lawrence.
Oh, so maybe at least they like working together.
Yeah. So I think I was looking, and he's mostly done a lot. He's one of those came from a lot of music videos.
Oh, okay.
So
The David Fincher, Michael Bay route.
yes. So Tony Scott also, I think. No, or did Tony Scott do commercials? He did commercials.
Yeah, but usually commercials. Michael Bay was more commercials too. But anyway, would you recommend this movie?
I would actually. I enjoyed this movie. Like of all the dystopian future YA movies, I know this was one of the first, but it's also still one of the best.
Yep, I agree. I like how they got more explicitly political in this one, but then still kept the character relationships interesting.
Yeah, and the thing I liked is that, like I said, I hated the Divergent series because I was like, the premise is stupid and doesn't make any sense. This one, it actually feels plausible the way they've set up the world and how they've been suppressed and how they keep them suppressed and all that. So it actually feels a little more plausible. But yeah, I would recommend this. I would say I'd put this on my scale at, even if you don't have the streaming service, I'd say rent it. I'd pay for the rental.
Yep, I think that's good as well. So moving on to at least one of my favorite segments, which is double feature. So what should we watch this with? What other movies are about oppressive governments and then kids having to attack each other?
How about one with no government? Lord of the Flies.
Yeah, I suppose that would work.
I was actually just going the easy. I kind of like that suggestion actually. Now that bring that up, but I was actually just going for the easy peasy. I really think you should watch the first one before watching this one.
Okay, and I know we did an episode on this one already, but it bears repeating. I'll just also take the easy route and go with Battle Royale, which is very different in the fact that that one has much more blood.
Yeah, and it's very like live action anime, weird, bizarre, and a lot of similarities, but also a lot of differences. So yeah, I think that's a good double feature too.
So yeah, I wonder if anyone will ever take this Battle Royale style thing and turn it into like a video game. That'd be kind of cool. Like you could build a fort or something.
All right.
Yeah, or like maybe you could become a knight. Yeah, there you go.
And have all sorts of different characters. And then
Yep,
make some action figures out of all those characters.
And then also like get licenses so you could temporarily have costumes of like Goku or something, or Mario, or like Rick and Morty, or Shaggy.
Jeez,
Shaggy from Scooby-Doo, or Shaggy the Singer.
It wasn't me.
Exactly.
Until they make that game, though, should we see what we should watch next?
I suppose we should. We should spin the wheel.
We'll go 70 or better, and all genres spin. All right, we've got, after a painful breakup, Ben develops insomnia. To kill time, he starts working the late night shift at the local supermarket where his artistic imagination runs wild.
Well, this is clearly about the classic supermarket film Sausage Fest.
Clerks.
Oh.
No, it's a Cashback from 2008.
I've never heard of this.
What's that?
I said I've never heard of this.
Oh, this is streaming on Prime Video and Canopy.
Who's in it?
Cashback featuring Sean Biggerstaff. Wow. Biggerstaff?
Isn't that a porn name? That's a porn actor.
I think so. And Amelia Fox.
Huh.
Directed by Sean Ellis. Yeah, so I've heard of this one before, but I don't know really anything about it. Oh, Jared Harris is in it, though.
Nice.
I like Jared Harris.
I assume he must be some sort of store manager.
Maybe. I guess we'll find out. Cashback from 2008. Streaming on Prime and Canopy. So we'll talk about that in 2 weeks.
All right. Until then, you can find us on social media. You can find us on Twitter. I'm on Twitter at Noah_Saturn. That is spelled SATERN.
And I am at AwesomeKM. And we are on Instagram at We Don't Know What to Watch. You can email us, we don't know what to watch at gmail.com. Send us an email. We'll read it on there. Let us know what you think. Like, subscribe, all that stuff. And until next time, don't go into battle in a giant arena to the death, because that's scary.
Yep. And for there can be only one. I've never even seen Highlander. All right. Bye-bye.